Hello everyone, welcome to the channel Your Analyst. Today we are going to talk about how to import CSV files using pandas on Python. This is important for analysts because there are times when we have to analyze data that has large number of rows, and at times Excel does not support that. You must be knowing that Excel has a limitation of about 1 million rows, and when we have to analyze data which has more number of rows than that, it becomes quite difficult. So here is Python to our rescue. But first of all, let's look at the file that we want to import. So this is a CSV file that I have created. This is a sample file. So we have product ID here, product name, price, discount, and final price. So these are the columns that we have, and we want to import this using pandas on Python. So let's go straight to the Jupyter Notebook. Here, these are a few operations that we would be performing in this video. We'll be importing the pandas library, then the CSV file, and then we'll perform a few operations on the imported data. So first, importing the pandas library. So this is a command that we use, import pandas as PD. This is just an alias name that is assigned to that we are assigning to the library to call it again and again. We can use any other name called CD, DD, or anything that you like. So once we have done this, we can now use the function readCSV in order to read data from the file laptop prices. It is always advisable to keep this CSV file in the same folder where we are using the Jupyter Notebook. This is because when we do so, we actually don't need to give the full path. Otherwise, you'd have to give the full path of the file. Okay, so when we run this command, we can see that all the data which was there in the CSV file comes in here. This is the CSV file that I am referring to. Okay, so all the data is here, but you can see that there's another column that has come, which is unnamed here, and it assigns a serial number to our data starting from 0. So we'll now see how to remove this or use it as per our requirement. So first of all, let's assign a header. What we can see in this data is that the first row that we had in our CSV file, which is product ID, name, price, and the discount final price, is taken as the column name for all these rows by default. If we want, we can change this. So let's see how we can do that. We have to use this parameter called header, and if header is 0, 0 indicates the first row basically. So if the header is 0, it will take the first row as the columns for the file that we are referring to. So when the header is 0, it has taken product ID, product name as the column for all the rows. But if we have data in a different format, and let's say the second column, the second row is should actually be the header for us, then we can do that as well. We can change it. So now I'm changing it to header is equal to 1. When I do that, I see that the column name has changed. It is assigning the first. It is basically assigning the second row as the column names. We can do this for the third row as well, and so on. But in order for our data to make sense, it is advisable to keep it 0. It's 0 only. So this is how we have assigned the header. Now we can move to choosing the required number of columns. So there are cases where there could be like multiple number of columns in the CSV file, but you don't need that. So in order to use the required number of columns, you'll have to use a parameter called useCalls and assign the column names that you want to use. So let's say I just want to use the product name and the final price. In that case, I'll use this parameter useCalls, and I will pass on the column names here. When I do this, I'll just see the two columns here, and now I can perform the operations on this data as required. The next is to assign the index. So as you can see that here, uh, the pandas is itself assigning a serial number to all the data. And I don't want to use that because I already have a product ID in the data, and I want to use that as a serial number, as a unique identifier for my data. So if I want to do that, I'll have to use another parameter called index call. And when I use that, I can actually assign the product ID as a column name, as the index for us. So I'll be using index call as the product ID. I'll pass on the product ID column here and use the columns that are required for me. You can see that in this particular example, I've used only these two, and the product ID does not come in here. But if I want to use product ID as the column, I'll have to use this column as well. So when I run this cell, I'll see that product ID is now the index for our data, and we have the required number of columns that is needed. So this is all I had in this particular session. I hope you learned something. In case you did, you can hit the like and subscribe button. And I'm looking forward to your comments and suggestions on the future videos. Till then, bye. See you in the next one.